So another thing as well was this thing is called Notre Dame. Notre Dame. I'm not sure how to call it, but this building burned down. Right. This thing is what 1,000 years ago, or 1,000 years old, or something like that. It's very old. It has stood test of time, and it has been here during wars and has stood still, right? So what has happened is that building fell. I think it was last week because there was fire there. All right. So there's been things that have been going on. Right? Obviously, this is a historical building. It's catching fire was in the news for a while, and it was all people were talking about. Alright, there were two things that caught my attention with regards to this story. So, one, the cross there, right? So the cross in that what is this? The cross in that building, right? So that was a church, sort of. The cross in that building remained standing, right? And it's because it's made of gold, and what is this? It's made of gold, and the fire couldn't meet the what is this? It's not a specific heat temperature. It's the temperature or the melting point of gold, right? It wasn't that high to meet the temperature, right? That's what people are saying. Obviously, that's true, but there is another way of looking at this. So obviously, social media has been arguing about. So people were saying, okay, this building burned down, but look, the cross is still standing. This means God. What is this? God. It's a lot of things, but shows you. The people were saying it implies the existence of God, or it implies the power of God, and whatever, right? And most of them were arguing, sort of, because most people are dumb enough, not they are dumb enough, but think they are smart whenever they're arguing about the existence of God, because they argue in the way that no man, God, there is no man in the sky doing whatever, right? This thing of thinking of God only as this giant man in the sky who can see everything, right? Obviously, I have no knowledge of that. I can't say it's true or false or whatever, but that's not the point here. Is that people think they are smart because they can point it out, right? They're thinking because I argued that God is not. What's this? There is no man in the sky, so whatever you're saying about God can't be true. So my way of looking at this was, because I've changed the way, not changed, but sort of improved the way I think about God and whatever. It was some sort of a what's this? Oh, another thing that's related to this as well. There are billionaires who've pledged some money to restore that church, obviously to rebuild it, and people have been complaining, saying, "No, man, there is world hunger. There is what? There is people who don't have water. There is a lot of things that are happening in the world right now. We can't have you spend all that money on restoring this old church." Right? That's what people are saying right now, that there are a lot of other problems. Right? I'm not sure how. Okay, I don't want to use the word dumb because I'm not that smart as well. So my perspective is absolute, but I hate when people think like that, right? uh, why did this guy buy $1.2 million vehicle? Because there's a lot of people who are struggling. Why didn't he give that money to those people who are struggling? It is money in the first place, and secondly, as Jesus put it, he said, there'll always be people who are struggling. There'll always be beggars. There'll always be whatever. Right? I think that's important to look at. Right? Because no matter how far you try to solve those, okay, you can try and solve problems like your world hunger and try to make sure that people don't go hungry. Hunger is limited, but people will always have problems. There'll always be problems in the world. That means we have to do what we can to preserve things like this dome or whatever. I didn't even know about it, but those things are sort of places that have too much significance to be let just burn down like that, right? Because they have too much significance in our history and what mankind can accomplish when they're working together. I think it took about 200 years to build that thing. So the people who started the building went there to see it being finished. And that says a lot about humanity, right? The things we do as people in this world, right? The sort of dedication towards a goal, the common goal, right? And that cross there, for most people, the cross represents some sort of, what's this? It has been explained by Jordan Peterson. It's you bear your cross. So existence is suffering, and so you must take your suffering and rise from it, right? Face it, right? So when you see, obviously there is this dogmatic, they call it dogmatic part of the religion as well. I think also have that myself, but that cross signifies a lot more than just being a cross. That signifies, I think when you think of God, there's this highest value that you can attain, and then you see that the burning down of whatever that dome is, the burning down of whatever the structure that consists of, that the highest value that you can attain. Even if the structure burns down, the value still remains. I think if you think of it that way, then you're saying, no matter how hard my problems are, but I still arise forth and bear my cross and try to achieve or try and work towards God, right? Towards the highest goal or whatever. That's how I think of the thing. So it's too significant, that thing of that cross remaining standing there. Means it can withstand the test of all, not all, but most tests, most distractions, sort of. So if you have a building of that nature and that history, you would want to preserve it because it means a lot more. Alright, we could have people that are hungry. There was always people that are hungry in the world, and maybe that's never gonna change. Maybe it's gonna change, but it doesn't matter if we don't have things to point to whenever we have troubles. We don't have things to what's this, to inspire us. Is inspire the right way. Not sure how to put this, but if we don't have things to say, this structure represents the power of humanity and whatever. So if we don't have those things, then we are doomed. Man, I'm so serious, right? But that's how I look at the thing. So yeah, if you're thinking of it just as that cross and that just a room that bent down and money shouldn't spend on it because there's other problems, damn man, I'm not sure. I don't think you're looking at it the right way, and my way is the right way. Fuck no, I don't know if my way is the right way, but that's how I look at it. And looking at it as this simple-minded man in the sky type of way, that can't be accepted. But maybe there's another different way than mine, right? Okay, so let's move on from that one as well.